Welcome to the Hey Docs podcast with your host, Jill Allen. Today, I am joined by special guest, Dr. Leon Klempner from People in Practice. In this episode, we are diving into the world of marketing and the ever-changing landscape of orthodontics. There's a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Hey docs, when it comes to marketing, I keep hearing that you're frustrated and that you don't know what you're paying for or even if your marketing efforts are working. Are you wondering what your next marketing move should be? I would suggest you contact Mary Kay Miller and her team at Kaleidoscope. With their free digital marketing audit, you will get answers and solutions to your biggest marketing questions. Go to contactkl.com to request your free digital marketing audit today. When it comes to websites, SEO, and digital advertising, you don't know what you don't know till you know. Find out what you don't know today. That's contactkl.com. Leon, I am so excited to have you on Hey Docs. I've been looking forward to this episode. Thanks for being here today.
I appreciate the invite. I was looking forward to it too. I was watching it on my calendar coming up, so I'm excited.
The way I like to start off Hey Docs, and I'm sure you know this because I know you've listened to a couple episodes, is I just love it if my guests start out by just talking a little bit about themselves, a little bit about your company, People in Practice, and just getting us familiar with you.
Absolutely. I'm a retired orthodontist. I practiced clinical orthodontics for 38 years on Long Island. I currently am doing a lot of teaching. I'm the director of orthodontics for the pediatric dental residency program here in New York at Mount Sinai. I'm also part-time faculty for the ortho residents at Harvard. Amy's my daughter, Amy Epstein, and I started People in Practice almost 15 years ago, believe it or not. And we started it with her helping me grow my orthodontic practice at a time when things were changing in the business model of orthodontics. Aligners had just come out. GPs were doing them. Pediatric dentists were bringing in orthodontists. And all of a sudden, I was seeing my numbers go down. And Amy, who had her MBA in marketing, was working full-time in Manhattan. And we began talking, and she asked me what kind of digital advertising I was doing. And I didn't know what she was talking about at the time. And slowly she began helping me, and other people heard about it, and then word of mouth, and then People in Practice. So now at People in Practice, we have 12 full-timers and with expertise in all areas. And we have clients all over the US, Canada, Australia. It's quite exciting.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's so fun to just see how a business comes to fruition when it isn't. You started out as an orthodontist, and I'm sure you never thought, I'm going to be in the website and marketing business. But what a fun transition. And then working with a family member, but you getting an opportunity to work with your daughter. I also have that opportunity within my company. My producer for Hey Docs, Jordan, is also my daughter, and we are very blessed as parents to be able to share something like that, I have to say.
It's the best. And we have a lot of clients that have brought their children into the practice, and some are third generation or fourth generation orthodontists. Yeah. And so there's an immediate bond there because, as you just expressed, we're very fortunate to be being able to have these types of relationships in addition to the business relationships that we have.
For sure. Today, when I was thinking about, all right, what do I want to talk to Leon about? Because there's so much that we could just dive into. I thought we could start maybe by talking about marketing and marketing strategies. And I know that you guys do a lot in kind of thinking about this from even the essence of a brand all the way through. So I'm wondering if you can just talk a little bit about, what do you think is important that doctors should be thinking about in regard to marketing? And what are you guys seeing that's really helping generate starts, not necessarily leads, into the practice? We need them both. What are you seeing, and how does that work together?
We do a lot of research on this, and we're very data-driven in our company. Amy in particular always brings that to the forefront. So we base all of our decisions on data. And we've come to what we would call the most effective way of developing a marketing program. And I don't mind sharing this with listeners, whether you could do this yourself or you can get help doing this. But
Yep.
basically, if you think about it, if you think about a funnel with the top part being areas where parents haven't really thought about ortho, but maybe it might be something in the future, like uncommitted, just out there, but in the community and would be good potential patients. And you think about the bottom are people that, okay, my kid needs it or I need it. I'm looking, I'm ready to go. I just need to find a place to go. We need to capture all of those and everybody in between. So basically, it starts with messaging. And if we get a chance to talk about differentiating messaging, I think that's a useful place to go. But just from a tactical standpoint, Meta is great for creating awareness. So if you think about the top of that funnel, where people are in the community that aren't committed to anything, we want them to know that you are in the community, that you exist. And so awareness ads is what we call it. And Meta and Instagram are great for doing that. And once you get a little bit of awareness, then traffic ads are next. And traffic ads are ways of bringing people from the social sites to your website. So these are educational kind of teases, learn more about what does your kid need? Is your child ready for ortho? Click here. And then we'd have the information on the website so it draws them in. And while that's going on, we want our practices to be using their organic social presence to show off their personality. Patients like to see what's going on behind the scenes, pull the curtain back, who's having a baby, just what's going on. And that is really not delegated well. That needs to be done from the ground up, but it needs to be done. But as you go down that funnel further, now you get people that are actively looking for treatment, and that's where you need Google, because they're searching for an orthodontist, and we want your practice to be there. So that's where SEO, on page, off page, paid ads. So if you're not showing up organically, you need to put some money in that area so that you are one of those options and choices. From there, everything is driven to the website. The sad statistic, here's the data, 97% visitors to orthodontic websites don't convert. They come, they look, they leave. And that's either because of a user interface or a user experience, meaning that either the buttons aren't working right, which typically isn't the case, but more often the user experience isn't good. They try to look for something, they can't find it, the navigation bars aren't set up properly or whatever, but they don't convert. So a lot of attention needs to go in that realm. And with that, you need to be up to date with all of the digital tools, right? The fill out the form and print a PDF, that's history.
Exactly.
You can't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore.
Nobody wants paper.
Nobody wants paper. Nobody wants PDF. We're dealing with our targets are digital natives. So we have to speak digital.
Yeah.
So we have a whole system with Patient Queue. We just got our trademark, I'm happy to say, where we can supply all those different things if the patient management system doesn't have it. And for the new docs that are just starting up, it's a great way for them to have everything, including HIPAA compliant texting, et cetera. But even if they don't click the form for a consult or call the office, there's still opportunities on a remarketing basis. You ever notice if you put something into a cart and you don't buy it, you'll get, hey, did you forget this or whatever?
Exactly. Yes.
So we still have an opportunity of retargeting those with some paid ads to tease them back into our wheel. The bottom line with all of this, these are all like tactical things that I think are essential. But the most critical is the messaging without the messaging, no matter what marketing you do, it's a waste of money. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm gonna just circle you right back to that differentiator, because I think this is the key that goes into messaging. I'm going to bet, and just have you talk to us a little bit about that, because as you know, I have a lot of docs that are startup doctors, brand new doctors, and or getting their practices off of the ground. And it is something that I talk to them a lot about is, What's going to make you different than the 5 other doctors down the street? What are you doing differently? What's your patient experience going to be like that's different? So, can you talk about that and the importance of that in how that plays into our advertising focus, our in practice patient maybe focus a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This is an area that is critical to any kind of marketing. And in essence, it is the North Star of all of the messaging. So it makes zero sense to do any marketing until this exercise has been completed. And I'll tell you exactly how we do it with our clients.
Yeah, that'd be great.
If you think about a Venn diagram, with circles that overlap, and one circle would be what patients want in your community. That's the easy one, right? They want straight teeth, but some of them, they want aligners, some want technology, some want fewer visits, some want remote monitoring. There are things that we need to dig into, but that's the easier part. The more complicated one, the one that requires a little more digging, is what can the practitioner or the practice consistently deliver? What is their core competency? Because if you are claiming fewer visits and you're not delivering fewer visits, I don't care how much money you're spending, it's for naught. So you have to deliver upon it. So we have to really dig in and as to what you can deliver. What are you really good at, so that we can identify that. So that's two circles of the Venn. The third one is, what is the competition not saying or doing?
Oh, that's a good
So
one.
if you're strong in aligners and your patients want aligners, but you're a new practice and you're up against a practice in your community that's been there for 30 years, that is number one aligner provider on the East Coast, then you don't want your message to be, we do aligners, because we're going to lose on that. So if you take those three circles and you look at the center part of it where they intersect, that's the messaging. And once you get that messaging, then you can move from there. And we have a lot of practices that, are their messaging has to do with their technology. And true to form, if you go there, you're going to see the latest technology. And we have others that are more relationship based, family oriented. Great. People look for that. We can't be all things to all people. And so we need to find out what we're good at, and then we need to laser focus our marketing to attract the people that want what we have, because then we win. So this piece is sometimes difficult for orthos to swallow when we first meet, because they see it as fluff and tell me about, but how much
Right.
are we going to do that? And slow down. We're going to get to that. We're going to utilize all that. But without the differentiator, then it's really wasted money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you say that. And this is something, like I had said, I talk to my startup docs a lot about. And I think that this is applicable. And again, I'm going to speak a little bit more towards startup and acquisition docs. We know if it's an existing practice that's doing a rebrand or whatnot, it's super important there too. But docs, if you're listening out there, one of the things that I think is so important about what Leon is saying here is that if we don't identify that kind of key tenant to what your brand is going to be, or if you're an acquisition and you're taking over a practice, your brand, your differentiator, it could be different than the previous doctor's differentiator if they even had identified that. And so I think that this is really one of those key, when you think about building a house, this is one of those fundamental foundational pieces that I think we really need to be identifying, or you are just more noise out there. You're just one more practice that patients have to decide upon, but there's no stickiness to it, is what I see if we haven't identified this.
And in the past, Jill, it was enough to be just an orthodontist. But the business model has changed. The competition has changed. It's different. It's not better or worse, in my opinion. It's just different. So we need to adapt to what it is. And right now, you can't be plain vanilla, I do braces, I do aligners.
Yep.
because it doesn't work anymore, whereas it used to be sufficient. And that's a hard pill for a lot of more mature docs to understand. The young
Yeah.
ones, they get that right away.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to talk a little bit about return on investment, because this is something I get a lot of questions about. I help docs a lot of times when we're in that startup process. We're working with a budget. If we're starting up, we have allocated a certain amount of money to go towards marketing, to go towards different things. And I'm wondering if you can talk to us, being on the other side of the coin. You are one of the companies out there that is providing the service, and you have also been in our industry as a provider and had lots of years of experience looking at your P&L and looking at where are my return on investments and where am I investing. But I'm wondering if you can talk to us a little bit about just what that looks like, and especially for maybe younger doctors, how can they really track the effectiveness of their marketing dollars that are being spent? And if you could maybe give us a little of your wisdom there.
Yeah, I don't know how much wisdom, but I'll tell you some of some of the experiences that we've had and conclusions that we've drawn.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came into this, originally, my daughter Amy was supposed to come into orthodontics. I have 3 daughters. 0 of those 3 became orthodontists. And ironically, Amy went on and got her degree in her MBA in marketing, and now I'm a marketer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of me bringing her in, she brought me
She
in.
brought
But
you in. Yep.
yeah, when I came in and started learning the lingo of marketing, where they talk about impressions and clicks, and I said to Amy, I said, look, I'm an orthodontist. What I care about is production. I want to know, what are you doing to bring people in for consults? So that's how we measure our success of people in practice. We report on all that other stuff, and that other stuff makes a difference, and we pay attention to it. What's most important is we want to bring people that are educated and that are ready to start into the office. So when you compare us maybe to some other marketing company that says we can deliver 80 leads a month if you pay this amount or whatever, we don't play that game. The last thing I want as an orthodontist in my practice is a bunch of people that aren't ready to start, that I'm wasting 45 minutes with my TC, taking a pan, sitting down, going over financial arrangements for them to tell me that, oh, I thought it was going to be $1,000 and not start. So we want to educate them, and we want to bring them in educated, ready to start. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that if you don't do this holistically and you just approach this in a piecemeal manner, like I just want, and we get this all the time where a doc will call me and say, I did Google ads and they don't work. So I don't want to do Google ads. Or I just want to do Facebook ads. And we don't want to take on a client like that, because we know it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. It's got to be a holistic approach where you're covering all of the different areas that are there.
Yes.
In most patient management systems, and you probably can attest to this, one of the weakest spots for me, referrals, and identifying where the referral came from.
Yes.
You know, I used OrthoTrack, and it was great in many areas, but it gave me like 3 choices: the dentist, the patient, or other. And even if a patient would tell you that they were coming from Google, let's say, was it Google ads? Was it SEO? Was it the website? Was it Google reviews? Was it the Google business page?
Yeah.
It's very difficult for a practice to really identify where a lead is coming from. But we measure the number of new patient consult requests that come in through the practice. And we have this patient queue system that not all docs use it, but it's very useful in tracking them along that funnel to coming into the office. Where are they?
Hey docs, let's talk about SmileSuite, because it's not just another scheduling system. It's a game changer in the world of new patient management. And as a proud SmileSuite partner, I've witnessed the incredible impact it has on practices of all sizes. SmileSuite means your new patient calls and web leads are expertly handled 7 days a week, even during nights and weekends. And they offer top-notch customizable presentation software and seamless post-consultation follow-up. It's like having a secret weapon for your practice's success. Curious? Dive into the revolution at getsmilesuite.com. And don't forget to mention Hey Docs to unlock some extra goodies.
Elevate your practice with Smile Suite, because every smile deserves a suite of excellence.
We can text to them, they could text back, they could send their insurance information. This is all pre-sales things that I think needs to be nurtured. So it's not a linear process where a potential new patient just says, I'm just going to look at a Google ad, then I'm going to call the office. Or I'm going to see a Facebook ad and I'm going to call the office. They're going to do their research. They're going to look at reviews. They're going to look at the website. They're going to look at your social media. They're going to listen to maybe a dental referral, maybe a mom at the soccer field or whatever. It's not quite so simple. But to be specific for you, because we are data driven, when we asked our clients for feedback in terms of what the ROI is on the amount that they're spending, what they tell us is that for practices that have been doing marketing, let's say 9 to 12 months more mature, that for every dollar that they invest, typically they're getting back between 6 and 10x in production, which
That's
is
great.
Yeah, we're happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And again, I know what is nice about what you guys do is you're going to help the docs really understand that. If it's a new doc listing and they're like, oh, that sounded great, but I don't even know that I would understand exactly what that means. That's part of this, is having a team to come alongside you. And I think those marketing meetings are so important, because the more you understand as a doctor and the more you understand what's working and how your return is coming, it just helps you be better informed at making decisions for the future.
Absolutely. And one of the other areas that I'm proud of at People in Practice is that we speak ortho. We speak ortho. Everybody on our team has ortho experience or have been involved with ortho practices. You don't have to tell us that you want to start a limited treatment protocol or that, I want to try Light Force. We know it. We have the relationships with the companies. We coordinate. We have all of the graphics. We know. You don't have to come to us with, this is something I hear all the time, is that my other company, I had to come to them with the ideas for the marketing. That doesn't happen with People in Practice. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about another program that you guys have. I know that you've got Startup Plus program that you guys have developed specifically for helping startup practices get their marketing going. Would you mind just diving into that? Because I think this is a unique program. Again, I feel like a lot of times, a lot of our bigger companies aren't necessarily always focusing on the difference between a startup practice and an existing practice and how those marketing needs may be a little bit different.
Absolutely. And I will give credit to you for what I'm going to talk about right now, because you really gave us like a little bit of a slap in the head in terms of, look, these residents are coming out, starting out, they don't have a lot of money, they have a lot of expenses, but they need a lot of the things that you do. Your challenge to us was create something that they can afford to do, which is exactly what we did. So we call it Startup Plus, but basically it starts with the differentiator. It starts with that triangulation, that Venn diagram to identify what is the differentiator. And then from there, we develop a clear messaging document that speaks to the differentiations that everybody in the practice could understand and can repeat. It's like a little elevator speech where it doesn't take long. So we want everybody on board with the same messaging. And then from there, then the logo development starts. So the logo is a reflection of the messaging.
Yes.
The logo is not just some pretty thing that we decide to pick. The logo has to be a visual representation of the messaging. That's the identity. So we create the logo. Once the logo is created, we develop the website. That's the next step. Again, the website needs to be a reflection of them. Everything goes back to the North Star, the messaging. So everything is consistent. The look of the logo, the look of the website, the wording, everything. And then when you come to the office, the same thing from the staff. So while all of that is going on, we develop some of their basic supplemental properties, their social media, their Google business page, their directories, so that all of the messaging comes through no matter what platform that they're on. And then once all of that is put together, we're ready to launch it into the community and let people know we're here, who we are, what we stand for. And if you match with us, you've come to the right place.
Yeah, I love that. And I do appreciate, we've had some conversations about this, but this is exactly, and docs, as you're listening, this is again, those foundations. Where are things building off of? And so many times I've got docs that are like, I'm just going to go do this from this and this from this. And they never really understand the importance of how it all has to play together. And I'll even tell you, when I'm working with docs and we're even building out the interior of the practice, we could be pulling on those colors that are maybe in our brand, or we could be pulling on our messaging or different things that we're working on that's pulling into that brand. And it transcends then into how we maybe answer our phones and communicate through email and text, into what's happening in our treatment coordinating room, to it's really, I think it could be so easy to think about all of these pieces as just individual things out there versus them being like this one big piece, synergetic piece that all has to play together. Or I think you get a lot of brand confusion, messaging confusion, and talk a lot about the kind of tongue in cheek here about sometimes I feel like we have a little bit of a catfish thing going on here, where they see or hear one thing, but then they experience a different thing. And it's like a little whiplash, like, what in the world? Like, this isn't what I saw online, or this isn't what I saw in person to what it creates us not to have starts. I think a lot of time is what it ultimately comes down to.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned color, but we're so like detail oriented that when we're developing a logo and website, we look at the competitors. We don't want the same colors. So even though the docs might, oh, I love this shade. I said, if one of your competitors has been around and they're using it, we look for something different. But what you're saying is so true, because it's confusing for moms to make a decision about where they're going to take their child. It is, because they're bombarded with a lot of different messages. And if you could be consistent in terms of what yours is, you definitely have a heads up in terms of what's going on.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm wondering if you can talk just a little bit about how you've been making some great points already, but how do you guys see yourself standing out against other marketing companies? What are some of those differentiators that you are using within your company?
I think that our holistic approach is probably the core of our success. I would say that when we understand the patient's decision-making journey, and understand that it's not a linear process, then you need to have no leaky buckets. You need to cover all the bases, the reviews, the website, the socials, the ads. And anything less than that is going to yield a poor result. So we've learned that our success comes from our holistic approach. And we're selective in terms of who we work with for that reason, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to take your money and not deliver the result. And if you don't allow us to do what we do well, then there are plenty of other companies that might be able to work with you, but it's not going to be us. And I don't want to sound elitist, but I do believe strongly that this is what works, and we stick to it. And that we're ortho based. We're not just me. Amy grew up in the ortho office. Everybody on the team's been either a TC, an assistant, worked in the front, worked in the back, understands how complex an orthodontic practice is. That's in our bloodstream. Just like there's orthodontic practices for different patients, there's marketing companies for different orthodontists as well. We're probably some of the lesser known. We don't really do much advertising. Our referrals come from our current clients. We're happy and proud of that. We don't want to be like these. We don't want to grow to be like some big monster. We want to keep it tight, keep it under control, and deliver success. So I'd say that's it.
Yeah, that's great. You and I have both been in this industry a long time, and I'm sure we can both say we've seen a lot of changes over the years. And I'm wondering if you can just talk a little bit about what you have seen and what you maybe predict for the future for some of the changes that towards success, but maybe also just when we're thinking about marketing, what should we be aware of when we're looking into the future that maybe you've got some insight on for us?
I could tell you what an indicator for me is of the success of an orthodontist that comes to us. An orthodontist that calls me and I have a conversation with them, I can pretty much tell in that conversation, asking a few questions, talking, how successful that practitioner is going to be. And it's based on their ability to adapt and change. That is the biggest factor. A doc that's open to reevaluating what has worked in the past, knowing that what brought me here may not bring me there, understanding that, those are the docs that are going to always do well. And the young ones, I'm with residents all the time, they're open to anything. They haven't been indoctrinated. I have colleagues that are treating cases exactly the way they were taught 30 years ago and has not changed. This is the way I was taught in school. This is the way I'm going to do it. This is the way I'm going to do it forever. Don't take any courses. Don't do any reading. Don't expose themselves to anything new.
Wow.
They just keep doing it, the same thing. That's just not going to work. Being open-minded and being adaptable, I think, are the biggest indicators for success in an orthodontic practice because things changing quickly. Now, if you ask me what I'm most excited about and what's coming down the road, it's going to be AI. And if we meet again, let's just talk about AI.
All right,
Because
let's
we could
do
fill
it.
the whole thing about AI.
Perfect.
Because right now there are so many applications, and some of them are currently already in dentistry. There is now the ability to run bite wing X-rays through AI that could detect caries better than the human eye, so that you can treat incipient caries proactively and avoid more complex problems. But in ortho, it's very interesting because the data out there, once that's harnessed, I don't see too long into the future where I'll be able to create a treatment plan on whatever platform I'm using and run it through an AI program that's going to tell me that based on your treatment plan, you have an 87% chance of success. And
Wow.
if you make these changes, you will have a 94% chance of success. Now, I don't see that as a threat. I see that as just having additional data and information to make better informed decisions for my patients.
Yeah.
But that's the stuff that's coming down the road. And I find that very exciting. Of course, there's concern about who's going to provide that data, how's that going to be utilized, things like that. But I think we're living in interesting times, Jill.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And I agree with you too that I think AI is we've got a lot of disruptors. It started a while back, but there's a lot of disruptors that are making their way into our industry. And I think AI is definitely one of those that is going to do good things. I know there's always pros and cons to everything, but I'm an optimist as well on that. This has been just a joy. And I can't believe that we're already at a point where we're starting to come to the end here. If we were to finish up here and you were to say, hey, I've got just three really important things. You've already given us so much information. If a doc is out there and they're thinking, gosh, you know what? Maybe it's just time for me to rebrand or get back on track with things, or a new startup doc that's saying, this so makes sense to me. I've talked to a lot of different companies, but this really resonates with me. What's three points that you could leave us with that you would tell docs to be thinking about if they're, thinking about starting a marketing journey or maybe a rebrand website journey?
I would say that the messaging has to come first, no matter who you're dealing with. If you're already committed to a company, I would proactively bring this up and say, what is our messaging? And help me to determine that. To me, that is paramount. The other thing I would say is that, and this has been true in my career, is I've never regretted spending money with smart people. I never regretted bringing in a consultant into my office or in marketing and went with whoever was best and paid that amount. And even though it was more than I'd spent in the past, I've never regretted that decision. And I could tell you that it's a lot less expensive to start out and do things from the ground up properly than it is to come in and try to unwind something that isn't working and redevelop something else and rebrand and start from zero. That, and I'm there with a lot of our clients, and it's not where I prefer to be, and it's much more complex and involved. So if you could make your decision, whoever you decide to work with, go with whoever you feel would be best for you, and bite the bullet and do it, and you won't regret it.
Yeah, that's great. Good sage advice there. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you or Amy or people in practice, where can they do that? How can they do that? What's going to be the best way?
I'm on a live chat pretty much all the time on our website. If you go to pplpractice.com, P as in Peter, pplpractice.com, I'll pop up live, and I use Slack, and I have my phone, and if you're on there and you want to say hi, I'll say hi back. And that's probably the simplest and easiest. Or you can email me. It's leon@pplpractice.com. So either way.
Great. Wonderful. This has been, again, such a treat having you on. I've been looking forward to this. And one of the ways I like to finish up Hey Docs is to do a little bit of a speed round. Are you ready for the speed round challenge?
Jill, this is the part that I did not want to do. I thought maybe if I could talk long enough that we'd run out of time and you wouldn't do this part of it. But I'm ready for the Jill Allen speed round. Absolutely.
All right. If you could start any business right now, what would it be?
I'm living the dream. That's all I could say.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I have a lot of people that say almost that exact answer, which I think is awesome. How wonderful to be in a place where you're doing what you love. That's what I hope we all get to be. What's the best investment you've ever made?
My education and hiring people that are smarter than me.
That's a good one.
Yeah. At People in Practice, that's what we do.
Yep. Nope, that's great. How do you handle work-related stress?
I think just having a good work-life balance. When I was in practice, I never missed, I have 3 daughters. I never missed a dance recital. So I think that, keeping that work-life balance is the best way to manage stress.
Yeah.
For me, it was.
Yeah, for sure. I think I know the answer to this one, but what's one trend in our industry you're excited about?
Oh, I'm telling you, artificial intelligence.
I know, little slam dunk there on that one.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then to finish us off, what's the most valuable piece of advice you would give someone just starting their career?
I talk with residents all the time. So I tell them to stay optimistic, that they're living in the greatest time to be an orthodontist. It's just that they have to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And I think residents, in my experience, are coming out with a lot of debt, and some of them in a lot of despair and wondering whether they might have made the right decision. Orthodontics has been, is, and will be the greatest profession that you could imagine. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to be successful as long as you stay open-minded and hire people like Jill Allen to help you with your practice.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. This has been again, wonderful. Thank you so much for just giving us some good insight into what you guys are doing and how you're helping our orthodontic community. And I really appreciate it because we got a lot of docs out there that are starting practices, and it is nice to have businesses out there that focus on helping orthodontists be successful. So thank you. And I do want to have another podcast where we're going to talk about AI. I'm excited about that one.
Great. Sounds great. Thanks
All right.
again.
Thank you. See you.